Hi, everyone. So here we are. It is our weekly Sew Stream. I am Tara. That is Lawrence. He's going to be moderating tonight.
Hello.
And I'm sure you've seen the thumbnail, but yeah, it's been a day. It's been a week. It's been a couple of weeks actually, and I am not in a good place. I'll be real with you. So we're going to talk a little bit about those goals that I set for myself. And we're going to talk a little bit about morning routines, and we're going to talk a little bit about really a lot of stuff. And I am making this kind of me-centric, I'm not going to lie, because I am just, I don't know, it's rough. It's rough right now. So yeah, how are you all doing? Before we get into everything, then make sure that you introduce yourselves and tell us what you're working on tonight. As you can see, I am fixing a sock. By the way, shout out to whomever told me that you should be using a light bulb inside whatever it is that you are mending, because it works and it's wonderful and it makes the process that much easier. So appreciate it. I cannot remember off the top of my head. So if you are here tonight and you said that, just let everybody know that you're the person who I have to think about that. And then hopefully Lawrence will catch that and I'll be able to thank you.
Well, it's literally a light bulb moment.
Yes, it is.
I love that.
But yeah, so that's really it. And as soon as I'm done with the sock, which I already almost am, because it was a very easy fix, then I'm not really working on anything tonight, because I've been working my butt off for days now. And I'll tell you a little more about that in a moment. But first, Lawrence, who have we got today?
We have in the house Mandy, Shauna, and Jenny. Those are the folks that have said hi. But we do have many others. So don't be shy. Do say hello, and I will say hello back, as will the wife.
Aloha.
And Linda and Deborah.
To all of you.
Indeed.
Yeah, welcome to everybody who is here and who is bearing with me. As you can see, I don't really have a lot of makeup on today. My hair is not curled. I am feeling extraordinarily frazzled and a little bit, again, I guess under the weather, you could call it that, but I'm not sick necessarily. I'm just very harried because, those goals. So let's talk about that. A few weeks ago, I made some really kind of big overarching goals for the way in which I wanted things to go, both with this channel and with my own life at the present moment. And I wanted to really focus on those. And I started to for a few days, and things were going really well for, again, probably the first couple of weeks of January, except that something was wrong and I couldn't figure out exactly what it was to begin with. But I kept on kind of, trucking along and doing what I could. And then all of a sudden it kind of hit me that I really don't like the way I look. And I also really don't like a lot about myself right now. And that's a really hard thing for me to admit, because I feel like I'm not always like this. And I'm also almost invariably able to kind of like pick myself up out of that doom and gloom. But I think there's a reason for it. And that is, as I drink some tea, that I was, when I made this realization, at my very heaviest weight ever. And the thing is, I grew up with heart defects. I have 3 congenital heart defects. And what congenital means is that I've had these heart defects from birth. There's nothing I could do about it. They are not lifestyle related in any capacity whatsoever. They are just things I've had to live with and that I've had to learn about and deal with my entire life. The other thing that is really big and that has happened in the last few years is I've had a couple of really big surgeries, one about 6 years ago and one just last year. And they kind of changed everything about this. My body, which was so used to not really being able to do much, and I guess just adjusting because of that, all of a sudden went kind of haywire because, hello, all of a sudden you can move. All of a sudden you can do these things that other people can do. And you can do them in ways that you've never been able to do before. And I just didn't know how to deal with that. And I still kind of don't know how to deal with that. And so that coupled with, again, some really big changes in my life in the last few months. Some of you know that if you follow Lawrence's channel as well, that we are in quite a transition period, I guess. Do you want to call it that?
Do I want to call it that?
Let's just call it that.
Okay.
So we're in a transition period right now where his channel is growing a lot. Okay. And that's great. But it also means more work for both of us. So I've been really, really busy with all of that as well. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. So I realized a few weeks ago, as I was trying to get really set up for these goals, and I was trying to make myself a little more focused on what it was that I actually wanted to do now that everything in my life has changed. And I realized that I can't just focus on those 5 goals because there are a couple of prerequisites that have to happen first. So that's where I am right now. And that's where I've been the last few weeks. If you're wondering why I'm not getting videos out, that's why. I am still trying to do the live streams and nothing is going away. And in fact, I have loads of content that I have filmed over the last few weeks that I would love to put out at some point. But I have to work on some me stuff first before I can get to that stage. Because right now, like I said, it's like the last thing on my mind to want to look at myself in the camera and edit for a few hours when I don't even really like looking at myself in the mirror for 2 seconds at the beginning of the day. So that's where we are. Although not quite, because there's something in the last couple of weeks that's happened that's changed that a little bit. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But just know that right now, the reason why I'm talking about lots of things today that have to do with me and with goal setting and with all of the things that, you know, I kind of talked about a few weeks ago is because I am literally in the trenches of growth. So I'm having ebbs and flows. I'm going up and down, and really I am just coming out of that downward spiral, if that makes sense, and starting to really experience something a little bit different. So yeah, along those lines, I've been doing a lot of procrastinating. And if you're not familiar with this term, what that means is that you cook when you're stressed. And I have been doing that quite a lot recently. I have made oatmeal raisin cookies, which of course, if you've been following me or my blog in the last year, then you know I love oatmeal raisin cookies. So that's happened. I have made some waffles, and I've also actually made a whole host of different foods and food stuffs in terms of dinners that I wouldn't otherwise have made before. And that's really interesting too. So Lawrence, do you want to maybe talk about how you feel about all of the crazy that's been happening around here?
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't like to see you go through it. But what I do like to see is your face. And I was editing your videos for a bit, and it's easy for me to look at your face, obviously,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
I actually enjoy that a lot, but I do understand the notion of not liking the look of oneself when one is editing oneself. For me, it was hearing my voice. I didn't used to like that.
It's rough. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not new to any of this because a few of you might know my undergraduate degree is actually in theater. And as part of a couple of exercises that I had to do early on in my degree, we did have to film ourselves, and then we had to watch ourselves and then critique ourselves. So it's not like I can't do this. It's just I am in a really bad place to do it right now. So it's not that it's never happening again. I just needed to take a step back. And like I said, I'll talk about that a little more in a second. But yeah, so the procrastination and the baking and the making of foods. I made a brand new meal the other day, though, that I was very impressed with. And it was mushroom risotto. And I've made risotto before, but with varied results. This one was actually quality. So I might even post the recipe because I kind of came up with it on my own. It was just me kind of playing around. So let me know in the chat box if you are interested in the risotto recipe, because that is something that I am posting for you all if you are. That said, I also have affiliate links. I realized in the last 2 live streams that I keep on telling you to go down into the the boxes below and check those affiliate links. But I don't know when the last time is that I posted it, because I had put my Poshmark on there for a while. So if you want to procrastinate with me, and you need some baking supplies or some cooking supplies, then now is the time to go down, because I actually do have an affiliate link down there. Obviously, if you choose to buy anything, then I will get a small percentage at no additional cost to you. But that said, there's a link down there now for those of you who have asked, and the wish list is still there. And I still very much am doing the research and reading and am filming. I'm just not in a place to post anything yet. And I'll talk more about that as we go. What's the feedback so far? Since I can't see any of the comments, I'm a little afraid because I know this is very different.
The feedback is very similar to my own. And not that you were seeking this out, I know that for a fact, but there's so much support here. Linda, oh my gosh, you are so beautiful. Mandy, it's okay to take some time for yourself. Absolutely. Rebecca, good for you. And Jenny, you do you. We'll still be here, and you are beautiful. Don't forget that. I could keep going. Rebecca again.
I don't think you should, because I promised myself I would not cry during this live stream, and I'm already getting super teary-eyed. Thank you guys so much. I don't even know what to say or how to convey how much this and everything means to me. It's just amazing. So I realized the big realization that I had, besides just not liking the way that I look in general and wanting to change that, is I have a super unhealthy relationship with food. And it's through no fault of my own, because in the 80s and 90s, of course, there was this dietary obsession with low fat and, as a result, high sugar products. And unfortunately for myself and most people of my generation in the United States, my parents were predispositioned, essentially, based on both health food requirements and my own particular situation, to, enable me to eat a lot of sugary food when I wouldn't eat anything else. Because as a kid with a heart defect, or a few of them, I was a very picky eater, and I just didn't want to ever eat. It wasn't necessarily that I was, of that mentality, which might trigger some people. So I'm not going to say those things out loud right now, but since we're live, but I wasn't necessarily like that. I was just a kid, and I didn't like eating, so I just didn't eat a lot. So as a result of that, believe it or not, cardiologists of the period actually encouraged parents whose children had CHDs to, just feed them whatever you possibly could to get them to eat enough calories to live. And as a result, I believe that I actually have an addiction to sugar, and that I have my entire life, and I didn't really even know it until just the last couple of years. And so one of those big prerequisite things for me before I can really concentrate on those goals that I've set out for myself is I have to get good with food, or at least I have to get a lot better with food. And so as a result, I've been looking more and more, and I have been for a while anyway, but it's all kind of coming together for me now. I've been looking more and more into the Mediterranean diet. And unlike, I know it's, like the buzz phrase right now, but unlike other diets, it's not really a diet as much as it is just a lifestyle choice that can actually be kind of fun and can be really rewarding in terms of the foods that you can make, and has been really great actually in the last week. And so I'm really trying to focus all of my energy and my strength on, preparing things, or finding out ways to prepare things in kind of a Mediterranean way. And it sort of even goes back to a few weeks ago when we were talking about, cooking through that British Museum cookbook and that sort of thing. I am focusing a lot of my energy on just making healthier choices when it comes to making and serving and eating foods, which is great. but it's also a process, right? And it's a process that I've had to spend a lot of time on, along with kind of trying to figure out what's going on with my body and all of the other crazy stuff. So I doubled back a little bit in the last few weeks, and I talked to some friends and some family members who've actually had some success with this app called Noom. And no, this isn't sponsored at all, but I'm just letting you know, just in case that you guys are on Noom yourself or you're interested in trying it. I thought I might at least mention it to you, because it does seem so far to kind of be working. I have lost like 8 pounds in a week. And that sounds crazy to me. And it should sound crazy to you, because I know that that's not the healthiest amount of weight to lose. I know that you're supposed to really go between 1 and 2 pounds a week if you want it to be healthy and you want to maintain that weight loss. But I have actually lost, like 8 pounds. And it has been with a lot of effort on my part, but it's also been with a lot of psychology as well. And that's one of the reasons why I really like Noom. But before I go into that a little more, do you guys procrastinate? What are your favorite things to make? And have you heard about the Mediterranean diet? Do you understand it? Would you be interested in me posting recipes or talking a little bit about it and about some of the research that I've done on it? I'm very interested to know, because to me, I won't go into too many details about it in this specific live stream, but to me, the Mediterranean diet is about as close as we can get to everyone's diet in terms of the very beginning of recorded history. Okay, so it really does actually come back into my channel and my my website in a big way, even though it doesn't necessarily sound like it to begin with. Any other comments and questions coming in today, Lawrence?
Yes. So Mandy says, I did so much baking for Christmas that I have baking PTSD right now. Otherwise, I would love to bake with you. And then Rebecca, on the subject of Noom, says, oh my aunt just told me about that today. And indeed, Mandy says that she's been wanting to try Noom as well. Wondered if it really helps. Thanks for the info. And then on the subject of sort of that quick weight loss, Cindy says it's okay. You lose faster when you start because you drop a lot of water and then it evens out.
That sort of makes sense to me. And I do believe that it's going to get harder as I go along, but I'm just astounded that I actually was really frustrated with myself yesterday because I gained like a pound back and I didn't know why. And then today it plus another pound came right off. So weight fluctuation is a weird thing, but that's another topic for another day. And I totally get the baking PTSD thing. I haven't necessarily been baking that much in the traditional sense, but I will tell you that it's my go-to happy place when I get really stressed out is the oven, and mixing and measuring and that sort of thing is just like where I naturally want to go to, which I think informs why I'm so in love with sugar, because the baking thing is difficult when you like sugar. It's the first thing that you want to do, even if it's like making, I don't know, a cake or bread instead of actually making a real meal for yourself. It's the first thing that I think about, which is something I'm trying to retrain my brain not to do. But yeah, you are welcome about mentioning Noom, because it's just been on my mind obviously a lot, and I don't think I am going to get rid of it anytime soon. I've only been on there a week. In fact, I think today is like my 8th day. And I do have a few pros and cons that I would like to share with you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. The pros is what I'm going to start with, because I think that they're the most important part. It's really easy to track your food. You can sometimes even, like, they're still trying to work it out, but on, like prepackaged foods, you can even like scan the label and sometimes it'll pop up and, auto calculate everything that you've put in without you even having to do any work. But you can also just type things in, and let's say that, and this is something different from any other app I've ever tried, and I love it. Let's say that you go out and you like I don't know, have nachos or something. You can estimate the amount of nachos that you had while you're out without actually knowing the amount. So you don't necessarily have to take your scale with you everywhere, because who does that, and whoever would do that? Instead, when you track it, then you just put like a large handful of nachos or a small bowl of nachos, and they will actually help you to estimate exactly how much you ate while you're out on the town, without having to worry about, well, I don't even know how many calories or how much, density was in whatever that food is. You just estimate it and then go on with your life, which I think is kind of fabulous, actually. They also do a personalized program with you if you really need it, which I obviously do, because I have a real problem with a coach. And I've loved it so far. Some people hate it. And I think that that's because you have to have a very specific question, or you have to have a really specific reason for your coach to want to reach out to you for more than just once a week, because they're supposed to reach out to you once a week just to check up on you and see how you're doing. They're also supposed to reach out to you if you stop using the app, just to see what's going on. But other than that, they don't have to reach out to you. That's the relationship, is once a week is the check-in. But mine has actually checked in with me a few times over the last 8 days. And it's because she and I have had, a dialogue that has gone beyond just the basic program. And I really, really appreciate that. It hasn't just been, cut and dry. This is what my automated message says. She's actually responded a couple of times with some meaningful information for me. And then finally, what makes it really different to a lot of other apps that I've used, and I think does it better than any other app that I've used so far, is it goes into the psychology of why you do the things you do, why you make the choices you make in terms of food. And like I said, I've only been on there 8 days, so it's really new to me, but I like that they do it in kind of like small but sizable chunks. So you basically spend 10 to 15 minutes on there a day reading through their lessons, and that helps you to kind of understand where your head is and where you need your head to get to. And it's also really interactive. Like, they include quizzes for you. They include like fill-in boxes where you track your progress or you track your goals. There's a lot of interactivity to it that I like as well. Now, cons, because there are a few of those as well. The first one that I recognized immediately that I am not down for is that there are way too many hashtags, and it's kind of cheesy. So it'll say like hashtag Noom Scientists Rock, or like, I don't know. It's just kind of goofy. So if you are into that, great. That'll actually help motivate you. But for me, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a child. I don't need like a hashtag or a joke every other sentence to get the point across. I see what you're trying to do, but it's not for me because I don't have a lot of time in my day. That's the whole reason why I'm using the app. So there is that. And they do it less and less as you go through every day, by the way. So that's good. It's also quite expensive in terms of these apps. And I think that I can't tell you exactly how much I am paying because I think that every program is individualized. So you'll get a different number undoubtedly to what I do. But if you don't have a lot of money in your budget, I would say don't start it yet. Wait until you know that you have a chunk of money that you can actually invest in this app in, because it's really not cheap. And then finally, and this is the biggest pet peeve of all for me, I have to take my phone with me everywhere now. I have to have pockets no matter what. And I have to have that phone on me, even if I'm just walking across the room, because for my specific personalized program, since I'm trying to retrain my body to do lots of things that it never actually was trained to do in the first place, I'm focusing on steps for the first time in my life. And so that means that my phone is my pedometer, which means I have to take it with me everywhere all the time. Now, if you do a personalized program, that might be different for you. I'm not sure, but I know it is something that just kind of irks me, because that's not, like, I like to park my phone and only look at it when absolutely necessary. And now it's impossible to do that unless I turn off all of my notifications, which I'm thinking about doing. But it's with me all the time now, which is kind of irritating. Oh, well, I think that the cons, honestly, though, are definitely a fine trade-off for what I've gotten so far. And like I said, I'm still 8 days into my trial. I have 6 more to go. And at this moment, I fully plan on purchasing the full system, just because I don't know, like, again, I'm astounded at the progress that I've made, both with my psychology and with the way that my body is feeling as of right now, today, with us talking. So why the thumbnail? Why the weird title? Because my apartment is a wreck. And earlier today, I will not lie to you, I did feel like my life was falling apart. And I think that there is a reason for that. And it's because when we set goals for ourselves, especially in my case, when you set a goal for yourself and then you realize that you have to do a bunch of stuff before you can actually even start working on that goal, then your peak basically just plummets and you end up in this big trough and it feels like you're never going to get out of it. And in fact, that Noom app explained to me that, you know, generally with goal setting, you'll have like a honeymoon period and then you'll have that trough and all of a sudden it'll feel like your world is crashing down. In my case, I, you know, like yelled and screamed at Lawrence a couple of times over the last few days. And I've just been a wreck, guys. I really have. And I'm sorry on camera to you right now, lovely, for everything that has happened. He's just looking at me wide-eyed and looking at the comments and then looking back at me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's been a rough week. And it's been a rough, like I said, a few weeks. So again, I think that with some of that, so like I had, you know, this wonderful honeymoon period of I've got all these goals, I've got all these really great ideas, and then sugar withdrawal and ant flow and realizing I had to like double back and do some other weird goals first just to like got me all at once. And the culmination of that has been in this last week. And as you know, if you have watched my videos, then one of my goals is to move to a bigger space. And so obviously, since I haven't been trying to eat nearly as much as I've done before in my entire life, then I've been really hyper-focused on trying to meet my goals. Finally, now that I'm kind of into a routine with Noom and with, you know, my reprogramming and all of that in like the last 3 days. So a couple days I ordered some new shelving units and I have started to, you know, meticulously go through all of my crafting supplies and reorganize some of the things that need to happen before I can actually get to the real stuff, which is making videos for you guys. And, you know, we're trying to make ourselves a tiny bit more room to work before we leave, in the hopes that we will take these things with us and our apartment will be a lot better laid out in the future for it when we do have a bigger space and things make a bit more sense. So that stuff finally came today and I finally started working on like the real stuff today after weeks of just like, I don't know, doing whatever. So that really is where I am. I know we only have a couple of minutes left, but Lawrence, throw some stuff at me. Do we have questions? Do we have a few comments that are relevant to the situation? What we got?
Oh, we have plenty. And a number of people definitely agreed with the idea of Mediterranean cooking as a good idea. That was way further up in the comments. Since then, there have just been more messages of support, more messages relating to Noom and how it's been successful for some people. Rebecca says that it worked well for her aunt. And let's see, I mean, there's just been quite a lot of that sort of thing, that kind of support. But obviously we only have 30 seconds and I can't go through all of them. There is one recommendation. This is from Kelly, who says, Dr. Grieger's book, How Not to Die, could be worth a checking out.
I've been reading a little bit about him and about his book. I also downloaded his app, but I haven't really used it a lot yet. That's like a check off of all the different types of foods. I don't know how much I'm going to get into that yet. Because again, as far as I'm concerned, Noom is enough for me right now since I have so many other things going on. But I appreciate that recommendation. And yes, I have heard of that book, and I probably will read it in the future. And yeah, I just thank you everyone so much for the support, for everything. I don't know. I just really appreciate it because yeah, I think probably the last thing I wanted to do today was get on here and be like super juvenile about stuff and cry and carry on. That would just be pointless. But I also wanted you to know where I was coming from and, where I am right now and why some of the things that I had like set out for myself haven't necessarily been met yet. And I really appreciate all of your understanding and your being here, because like without you guys, this live stream wouldn't happen, right? So again, if you want to join our crafty club, you can do so down in the description. You can also, like I said, procrastinate with me, or in the few weeks coming up here, you can maybe start some Mediterranean stuff with me. We'll see how that goes. And yeah, let's go for this.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. Oops, I missed the end button. There it is.